When your child absolutely hates homework, things can get pretty difficult. If that's your child, you are probably tired of the fights and all the wasted time. And you're probably worried about your child's future. That's why I made this video for you, to help you through this. This video covers what could be causing your child to hate homework, because the real reason is not always obvious, and it's not often what you think. This video is going to give you solutions, some easy tactics you can use to get past this problem, for your child's sake and for your sanity. Hi, I'm Liz Weaver of Learning Success, and I put this video series together to help parents of struggling learners, because parents of struggling learners have it rough. If this video helps you, please make sure to subscribe and share, because we want to help as many parents as possible. Let's watch.
You have to know this. If homework is a true battle, I had a girlfriend whose son, every night ended in tears. One of them was crying, either my friend or her son. No teacher wants that. No teacher wants that.
This generation of kids, they're different in that they are the most anxious, the most stressed, the most clinically diagnosed with anxiety and depression.
So if your child is really struggling with homework, talk to your teacher. Let them know, my kiddo's really having a hard time. Every night is a battle. I don't want him to hate school. I don't want her to loathe this process. Help me.
The data is pretty clear. 70% of students in adolescent years identify school-related topics as their biggest stress, whether it's getting into college, doing homework, or school itself.
What can I do? How can we lower the amount of homework? A lot of teachers will say, okay, have them work for this amount of time, and when they've given their best shot for that amount of time, be done. Other teachers will send less homework home, or they'll say, well, maybe just try it this way, or do it out loud, but don't have them write it down, or they tell you the answers and you write it down. There's ways to tweak it so that it doesn't have to be this horrific hassle where you just want to pull your hair out and everybody's miserable.
And we all know that when a kid comes home after a very long day at school, a long day with extracurriculars, at which point they are highly pressured, with adults that have what we call an attachment to the outcome. Teachers need their students to improve, coaches need their players and their dancers and their cheerleaders to succeed because it reflects on them. And then when the kids get home, the parents are just as attached to the product of the homework, the project, the assignment, the test. So these kids live under constant stress and they're just not built for it. No kid that age is.
So reach out to your child's teacher. 98% of teachers will hear you, will want to help you and your child. They don't want homework to be miserable. And like I said, more and more classrooms are becoming homework-free or reduced homework. We are now just to reading and with a reading log. And it's my kiddo who loves homework. She's devastated. But my other two are like, woohoo, we get to relax a little bit. And the whole point is to play after school. So we try to, we're doing more of that, which is really exciting.
Another great thing to explore is learning styles. So we all learn in different ways, and your child might not be being taught in the way that they learn. So looking at, are they visual learners? Do they need to get right in there and try it? Are they better at reading things to themselves? Are they better at listening to what the lesson is versus having to read? So we all learn in different ways. So exploring what your child's learning style is definitely going to be a helpful thing to do, as well as practicing different learning styles, because that's going to start helping them develop the ability to be taught in different ways.
What else could it be? Well, in the 0.01% of the times, it's actually not that the student is missing any underlying skills. It's that the student is correctly realized that the homework is pointless busy work. And that does happen. As much as adults don't want to admit it, a lot of homework assigned in school is busy work. And if a student has started to realize that, that's not a bad thing. It means they're starting to think logically, starting to set their own rules, and they're probably ready to find ways to succeed on their own terms.
The best person to ask about your child's experience with their homework is your child. But here's the problem. They're unlikely to be able to tell you. The best you might get is "I don't know," or "I just don't like it." They might not know why they're having a hard time with homework, or they might not have the words to put to their internal experience.
You need to first see, is the student right? Sometimes students think something is busy work that is not busy work. And I've seen this I've seen this with fractions, factoring, geometry, and mathematics. I've seen this with pretty much every topic in reading and English and history. The students will think that something is busy work that's actually good. Why do they think that? Well, it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. They've seen so many teachers say that something's important that simply is not important, that they've lost trust. And in that case, you need to evaluate it and evaluate it objectively. The mere fact that something has been assigned does not make it good. Just because something has been assigned, it doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it's not a waste of time. It could very well be a gigantic waste of time. How do you evaluate that? Well, if you yourself are comfortable with the subject, you take a look. And if you're not, you can ask. There's many experts in almost every academic area. And you can just ask them, is this assignment good? Is this worthwhile?
Now here's my tip. Get a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. Ask your child if they would be willing to show you what it's like when they're asked to do their homework. Let them know there's no wrong or right way of doing this. They can draw a picture, they can make a scribble or write some words.
Homework can be destructive. Homework can be bad. If a student is practicing the wrong things at home, if the student is not, instead of learning something useful, reinforcing bad habits, homework can do more harm than good. Just as when you're exercising, if you have some kind of an injury and you keep on exercising, that's going to do more harm than just not exercising. If you're injured, sitting on the couch and watching TV is better than a strenuous workout.
If they're having a hard time getting started, give them your phone and let them scroll through some emojis. They can draw the emoji, or they can show you which one they want, and then you can draw it for them. Now, don't make any assumptions about what you see. Just get really curious with your child. Ask them to tell you about the picture that they've drawn. They can give it a title if they'd like to, or you can add a speech bubble or one of those little thought bubbles above the head, or even above the scribble. Ask your child, I wonder what it is that they'd be saying, or I wonder what this emoji or this scribble is thinking. Tell your child that they can add the words inside the bubble, or you can add it for them.
The student is not being lazy. It's not that. The most likely situation is that there are underlying gaps. If that's the case, find them, address them. Do it yourself, hire somebody else to do it, or just build up all the skills from kindergarten in that subject area. And if it's not that, it is almost certainly that the work itself is perceived to be pointless. Whether that is because it is pointless or the student incorrectly thinks it is, that's an area where you might want to, if you yourself understand the subject well, make the decision yourself. And if you don't, just find somebody else who does.
Now, if you'd like to, you can ask your child to make a second drawing. Ask your child what they would prefer it to look like when they're doing their homework. Now they'll have two drawings, what it's like for them when they're doing homework and what they prefer it to look like. You can do the same process with the second drawing. Ask them to add a title or some words to it. You can make that speech bubble or that thought bubble. Now we're starting to see their experience now, and we've set a goal, or we've had our child to set a goal for themselves, how they'd like it to be. Now you can stop there. That might be enough for today. But if you're really on a roll, you can ask your child to bridge the two drawings. Ask your child, could you show me how the first drawing could become more like the second drawing? Or you can ask your child, what would this emoji need in order to feel more like this other emoji over here? See if they could draw something that unites the two drawings or moves the first drawing closer towards the second drawing. You could even do a comic strip if you want to. This is part of creative problem solving. And remember, even if it doesn't make sense at this point, it's okay.
Once you get what's bothering your child out in the open, it's really going to help. Just letting your child know you understand will make a huge difference. Most of the time, when a child hates homework, there is an underlying learning struggle. Those struggles are caused by a difficulty in one of the cognitive microskills. These are the fundamental skills that make up the learning process. A weakness in any one of these skills will cause a learning challenge. To overcome this, use the learning success system, like thousands of parents just like you have already done. The learning success system builds up each and every one of these skills, and it does it in a way that builds confidence and grit at the same time. If you would like to see your child finally get some fantastic grades and maybe even pass up their peers in academics, then grab your copy of the Learning Success System. Right now, you can get a free trial by clicking the link above or in the description.
There are so many different reasons that kids become resistant to homework that the more you can understand your own child's unique experience with homework, the more likely you are to get solutions that are really going to be effective for your child.
When it comes to homework resistance, teachers play a really big role. We always encourage the parents reach out to their teachers and really ask them what they're observing in class. This is really going to help us figure out what the why is. So why is there resistance? Why are we struggling? Another great part about this conversation is you can start talking about what are the other options, recommendations, accommodations, and things that can be done in school or outside of school to really help your child thrive when it comes to their learning. So once you've had that conversation, you want to make sure that you're checking in with your child's teacher regularly to see, are we noticing progress? What are we noticing? Or what else is coming up? So all of this is really helpful to make sure that we're on the same page, and always remembering the teacher has the same goal that you have. Essentially, we just want everyone to succeed, and we want your child's learning experience to be the most positive that it can be. So sometimes it's better to look at recommendations and accommodations and additional supports instead of continuously facing that resistance.
So some questions that are coaching related that we can attach to this issue is, what is one thing you know that you can do right now without anyone's help? And where would you start with this? Now, if these questions prompt action and they say, oh, well, I could do this, then that's fabulous. This will build momentum. It will gain self-confidence in the child, and hopefully enough to move them through continuing with the task overall. However, if these questions prompt angst or responses like, I don't know, we want to follow up with questions that are getting more to the issue. For example, what is one sentence that doesn't make sense? This type of question can lead the student directly to where he or she is having a problem.
If you need to stop school for a while and do homeschooling to address those underlying gaps, do that. Just as if a student is a great athlete, he might need to take a season off to address an injury. If you need to hire a tutor, do that. If you need to do a third-party program or something like that, do that. If you need to get workbooks on the subject that start at kindergarten level and build up, do that. But don't assume that it's laziness. It is not laziness. Of all the things that I can say, that I can guarantee, it is definitely not laziness.
Another one that's challenging is sometimes homework resistance is pretty justified, right? There are teachers who give too much homework or who don't adequately explain the homework or kind of dumping extra work on kids they're not ready for. Resist the temptation to talk about that either to your spouse or on the phone with friends or even to your kid. Don't let your kid hear that you're disappointed in the teacher or you're frustrated with the teacher, because that becomes easy justification for, hey, my dad doesn't think this homework is worthwhile. My dad doesn't think this teacher is doing a good job. So therefore, that's a license for me to say, I don't want to do it. And even if that's not cognitive and fully conscious, just in that subconscious, that kind of thought that, my teacher isn't the expert. My teacher doesn't know best, is sort of that little bit of justification for, so I'm not going to do it. And so the less your kid sees you being disappointed in or undermining a teacher, the more likely they are to see it as kind of, it's a valid assignment, it's what I have to do, and so I'll do it.
Now, when they're younger, students can't necessarily explain that. They can't say, listen, mom, or listen, dad, I'm missing some underlying cognitive concepts, and I feel that they're just going to say, I don't want to do it. It's really easy to misinterpret this as laziness, but it is almost never laziness. It is not laziness. Just like a kid who's saying, I can't play anymore in soccer, is not being lazy, just might be injured. When a student is saying that I cannot do this, I don't want to do this, it is almost never laziness. It is almost always an underlying gap. And the first thing that you need to do is to find those underlying gaps. Sometimes you can do it yourself. Sometimes you might want to get expert help. But whatever you do, you need to address those underlying gaps.
The best and fastest way to find and address those underlying gaps is with the Learning Success System. The Learning Success System addresses all of the possible gaps. It is very easy to do. Once you sign up, you'll get short lessons daily by email. The lessons take less than 15 minutes. As you do them, not only will you start to recognize where the real problems are, but you'll also address those problems. Over time, your child will fill in those gaps and will then start to learn and excel in school. How much will you enjoy seeing your child succeed in school and maybe even passing up their peers? Right now, you can get a free trial of the Learning Success System, so you have nothing to lose except for the homework battles. Click on the link in the description and get started today.